Coming to you live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the Thursday night edition of Impact Showdown. I am, of course, as always, the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. We are actually joining TNA Impact Wrestling live in progress as we see the TNA Entertainment logo popping up on the screen. And we now have Impact Wrestling. They just went off the air. I guess they did not feel like going into a little bit of overtime tonight. That's quite all right there, folks. Thank you all so kindly for checking out tonight's episode on July 12th, 2012. Do hope y'all have had a fantastic week so far, and you've been doing the best that you can to stay hydrated. Special shout out for those of you that have been making your business to look out for the elderly, as you definitely want to make sure that they are doing okay during these hot times this summer. Want to make sure that your neighbors are staying hydrated. Make sure kids are staying hydrated too. This weather is nothing to be playing around with, folks. So let's jump right into it. We definitely want to take this time out to thank those of you that's listening to this episode right now on Blog Talk Radio and over at our sister website over at InfinityOneProductions.com. As always, you can hit us up on Twitter. We're at InfinityOneProd, and we're on Facebook at InfinityOneProductions. Definitely check us out on those two sites right there. Got a ton of likes on our Facebook page that just continues to grow and grow by the day. Thank you for those of you who have taken the time to check out our page there. Now, you can feel free to join in on a discussion of TNA Impact Wrestling and a number of the other topics that we're going to be covering on tonight's show, as we have a chat room that's open right now over on Blog Talk. So feel free to jump on in there. We already see that there's a few people that are in there as I speak. Tonight's episode is being brought to you by our good friends over at the NWA promotion. That's right, the NWA Championship from Florida. Hit them up when you get a chance. You can find them on Facebook at Infinity. Oh, I was about to give you the wrong link there. I apologize. You can hit them up at NWA Championship Florida from Wrestling. Again, that's on Facebook, and they're at NWA Championship Wrestling from Florida. While you're at it, take the liberty of checking out their website over at nwafloridatv.net. Again, that website is nwafloridatv.net. They're making it their business to try to add new content to that website on a daily basis. So make sure that you're checking that website often. Really cool how it's been developing. Now, before we jump right into tonight's Impact Wrestling Live, definitely want to let you guys know that if you did not take the liberty of checking out TNA's new show that airs 1 hour prior to a new episode of Impact Wrestling Live titled Impact Rewind, you definitely want to check that out. It's actually a really cool show. It comes on, as I said, just an hour before Impact Wrestling, and in that hour you're basically given a recap of everything that has transpired the week before, maybe a couple of weeks prior. Really good first installment that they did, and I know throughout the night they were asking fans to share their thoughts of the episode by using the hashtag Impact Rewind, and it's been getting a lot of great buzz. I know personally I definitely enjoyed it, and after seeing the way that they had handled the Rewind edition, the only other advice I could possibly give to Impact Wrestling would be to try to see if they could make that be a YouTube exclusive on top of airing it on Spike TV, as we're sure that a lot of you all are definitely aware, especially for those of you that have watched Impact Wrestling tonight. Spike TV, TNA, they definitely need our help right now, as they got hit with some very devastating news with regards to the way that you, the TV viewers are possibly going to be able to see new episodes of Impact Wrestling on Spike TV. For those of you that are not really familiar with what all has transpired, don't worry, we'll be covering that more a little bit later on during our show. But for now, we're definitely going to jump right into it and cover what had happened on tonight's episode of Impact Wrestling Live. And pretty good, strong episode right there, as we had kicked things off with Bully Ray versus Joseph Park in a anything goes match. And by anything, everything, kitchen sink, trash can, garbage bin, you name it, it was all legit in this match. And one point during this contest, we would see Bully Ray beating down Joseph, and he would send out a tweet. Seems like he's starting to get a hang of this whole Twitter, or as he likes to call it, Twitter, as Bully Ray sent out this following tweet: kicking Joseph Park's ass on worldwide TV, #BullyNation. Now, critical point in this contest, folks, we would see Bully Ray, who would kick Joseph in the groin area and then said to him, "Gonna do to you what I did to your stinking brother a long time ago," as he just beautifully spit in the air and was able to catch it with his mouth. That is just something unheard of, that a person is able to spit in the air and catch their own spit. Some people would argue that maybe it's gum. I beg to differ that. It looks like it's spit to me, but whatever it is that he's spitting, keep it going, brother, keep it going. As from there, we would see Bully Ray grab a kendo stick, and he was trying to attack Joseph, but Joseph was able to low blow him with a cheese grater to that groin area. Ouch! That's all I had to say as I was watching this take place. Now, a little bit later on, we would see Joseph do a semi-modified version of a black hole slam / rock bottom, as he sent Bully Ray crashing through thousands and thousands of thumbtacks that just pierced all over the back, upper shoulder area of Bully Ray, who was just screaming in agony. And we would follow that up with Joseph Park actually trying to grab a trash can from one end of the ring and charge at Bully Ray, who at this point recovered just enough to grab his trademark steel chain, wrap it around his hand, and was able to make it connect to the face of Bully Ray to basically knock him out cold, pick up the win right there. Now, post-match, we see Joseph. He finally comes around, and it looks as if he is okay till we see the blood just dripping over his forehead, just nonstop, and he's just looking at the blood in his hands, and he just seems to have a outer body experience, if you will, as he's just looking and is just traumatized by what he's seeing, as Bully Ray is just looking on. And Joseph, he just starts kirking out. It was almost like, on top of having an outer body experience, he was becoming a totally different person, who just came right after Bully Ray, who tried to attack him with a object in his hands, but no mas, as Joseph Park was able to connect with a black hole slam. That's right, he pulled something out of his brother Abyss's playbook as he delivered the black hole slam to Bully Ray. Only then, after the black hole slam had occurred, do we see Joseph Park kind of snap out of whatever trance he might have been in, as he's looking around wondering what just happened. And the fans, they're chanting, "You did that, you did that." I mean, it was pretty awesome moment right there. Now, from there, we would see in a backstage segment Sting, who is talking, Sting is walking in the backstage area, and we see him with a hand of cards. aces and eights, and he's basically mumbling to himself, the dead man's hands, yeah, I get that, and he tears it up as he continues walking. Now, from there, we see another backstage segment where we have Bully Ray, who is picking off the thumbtacks that's in his boots, and he's saying to himself, what was that? Who was that? Who was that? And he's well aware that he beat Joseph Park, but he wants to know, after he beat him, who was that was in the ring as he just walked off. So new little development right there with the Bully Ray Joseph Park angle. Definitely have loved the way this has been handled in recent weeks. I was under the impression that this was going to be wrapping up sometime weeks prior, but it seems that TNA Creative, they are not quite done with this angle yet. I love how they're handling it. I can only hope and imagine that the payoff is going to be really big at the end when they get ready to wrap this up. But I love what's happening right now. Now we have our latest Bound for Glory leaderboards where we have points up for grabs. As remember, we got 2 Bound for Glory matches set for tonight, as we're going to be seeing Kurt Angle take on Mr. Anderson, and then later on we're going to be seeing Samoa Joe take on RVD. So on that note, the second match that we have up for grabs is the Samoa Joe versus RVD. And remember, for those of you that's not quite familiar with the Bound for Glory series, it's basically all about naming a new #1 contender, naming a challenger for that October 14th Bound for Glory pay-per-view. That's pretty much what all the points is about. So we have Samoa Joe, who is taking on RVD here, and I must say I was very pleased with what I saw of this contest. I mean, it was one of those type of matches where you definitely knew going into the match that Samoa Joe was probably going to do whatever he could to try to go for a series of submission holds. As let's not forget, 3 out of the 4 matches that Samoa Joe has won has been by submissions. So that's how he's been able to be on top of the leaderboards right now. And that was the mentality that Samoa Joe had, as throughout the contest he just kept going for submission holds. He tried to go for a modified version of the figure 4 leg lock trademarked by Ric Flair. He would just go for a number of leg holds, trying to take away the legs of RVD, and I just thought that was a brilliant strategy going into that match, as yes, RVD, he is very deadly when it comes to those legs. Not really about the hands, it's all about those legs and feet of his. So a brilliant strategy that he had right there, but he was becoming just a little bit too aggressive. He was becoming a little bit too hungry, as I just kind of felt like he should have paced himself a little bit more, really timed it, as RVD would take advantage of one of those times that Samoa Joe tried to go for those legs and apply a submission maneuver, as he was able to reverse it and turn it into a pin for the win. And so with that, RVD, he picked up 7 points. We'll definitely get you guys caught up on the newest leaderboards right after we mention the results of the Mr. Anderson versus Kurt Angle. But yes, RVD, he defeated Samoa Joe to pick up 7 points in that match. Now from there, folks, we go to a backstage segment that is basically footage that was shot from earlier in the day, where we see Claire Lynch, who is in her vehicle, and cameramen, they're catching up to her, and they're asking her if she has had any further contact with Dixie Carter after everything that's transpired. And Claire just kind of comes off with this nasty little funky attitude. She doesn't seem oh, poor me, poor humbled me, look at everything that happened to me, feel pity for me, feel sympathy for me. She wasn't really coming off like that. She was kind of coming off like a biatch. That's the best way I can put that word out there without being too dirty about it. But that's basically how she was coming off. And one of the things that I had noticed about this segment, and I'm very surprised that the TNA announcers, they didn't really pick up on this, because I just thought it was a little bit alarming. As she's talking to the cameramen, and she mentions to them, no, I haven't had any contact with Dixie since you all had last saw me. Plus, the cameraman had followed it up by asking her, well, has she said anything to Kazarian, Daniels? And she said no, she hasn't had anything to say to them, and she's just basically trying to get the hell out of there. One thing I noticed during all this that I personally have found disturbing, and there's no way you could miss it, was that she had a lit-up cigarette in her left hand. Now, I'm bringing up this cigarette for a legitimate reason. If she's supposed to be pregnant, then what is she doing smoking? Now, we have some people that'll sit up and say, oh, well, one cigarette, it wouldn't hurt. You don't know that unless you have a PhD or you have studied genetics long enough to know. You're basically assuming that one cigarette isn't going to do any type of harm. Now, let's really break this down here for a second. And this wasn't a scenario where I rewinded it. I actually noticed it off the break. And it was just one of those, boom, freestyle thinking moments as it just clicked in my head. Wait a minute, you don't want to have this message being portrayed, because think about it. This girl looks to be at least 2, maybe 3 months pregnant, and she's smoking a cigarette. Think about the age demographics of viewers that are sitting up and watching this show on a weekly basis. Do you really want to send the message out there that it's okay to smoke while you're pregnant and possibly risk your kid having some type of health problem, some type of mental retardation, lung problems, whatever, you name it? Do you really want to send that message out there? So, I mean, she tried her best to kind of keep the cigarette a little low, but I just think that it's one of those type of deals where they need to be a little bit more careful, really need to time it and make sure that the character definitely is in character, because that just seems really conflicting right there when you show somebody with a cigarette stick and they're supposed to be pregnant. Really weird moment right there. Now, from there, folks, we would see Hulk Hogan, who is in a backstage segment. Yeah, I know. That seems to be the trend tonight, folks. We're getting a lot of backstage segments here tonight as we see Hulk Hogan, who is basically walking around, and he says out loud that the Aces and Eights, they want to call him out. That's fine. He's here tonight, and he's here with his brother Sting. And from there, we see a recap of AJ Styles versus Daniels from their Destination X match this past Sunday. And it wouldn't do us justice to not mention once again, if you have not seen the TNA Destination X pay-per-view, Daniels versus AJ Styles, Last Man Standing, was definitely one of the highest moments of the night. Definitely a really great match right there. 5-star quality type of match. Highly recommend that you go check that pay-per-view out, as that was one of the greatest gems to watch during the course of the night. Now, backstage segment we go now, where we see AJ Styles, who briefly comments on the win. It looks like this footage that they had of AJ was post-victory at the pay-per-view, as he says basically, hey, he went out there, he promised he was going to defeat Daniels, he promised that he was going to be the one that was going to be the last man standing, as it would then cut to Kazarian and Daniels in the ring. And Kazarian, he congratulates Styles for the win, but thinks that if he thinks that he's finally put an end to the whole thing, he's sadly mistaken, because it's only just the beginning. From there, Daniels would take a microphone and he would chime in his thoughts too, as he can hear the Impact crowd booing. They're actually booing them, but Daniels twists it around and says, yes, I hear you all booing AJ Styles. And he recalls how Styles just continues to try to hide away from the truth, and that Claire Lynch has a few questions that needs to be answered, as Daniels calls her out. And here we go again, folks. We have that awkward moment right now where we have Claire Lynch, who's coming out here, and Daniels tells Claire Lynch, hey, you're not a monster. I know you hit rock bottom at some point in your life and you didn't know where to look for a hand to pull you out of the hole that you were in. You just so happened to come across AJ Styles. But all I'm saying is that where a situation like that comes highly charged, things can happen. Accidents can happen. From there, we see AJ Styles comes out, and he's basically telling Daniels, look, I'm very surprised that you're still standing here, that you're even able to talk after the beating I gave you at the pay-per-view. And AJ is just livid. He is just really saying to himself, what more does he have to do to silence Daniels, who is just basically continuing on this silly crusade, as Claire, she is trying to take control of the matter. She's trying to tell AJ, look, you know, Daniels is actually speaking the truth. AJ, he's trying to have her stifle, as Archie Bunker and All in the Family likes to say, as he's trying to take grasp of the situation. And Daniels is looking at Claire the whole time, and he's telling her, Claire, you know that you have to be honest here. You know what you told me. You have to let AJ know. As AJ Daniels, it looks like they're about to go right into it again, right there in the ring, folks. It looks like we're going to have a Destination X rematch here, as Claire tells AJ, look, there is something that I have to tell you. And in just a Jerry Springer moment right here, we have Claire Lynch tell AJ, you are the father of this baby. As the crowd, I guess they must have been listening to the show a couple of weeks ago, because we got the crowd chanting, Jerry, 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 Jerry. And I'm saying to myself, yes, this is exactly what I said before it even went this route. And, hey, TNA, you guys, I hope you heard what the crowd had to say tonight. That should be your clue right there, that you need to hurry up and end this ridiculous storyline that's going on, because that's not really, I wouldn't, anytime you have a wrestling skit be associated with Jerry Springer, that just says to me that you're not going in the right direction with your storyline, that you need to be going into another direction. And correct me if I'm wrong, folks, because sometimes my math is a little bit bad. I don't care if Jerry Springer is still on the air pumping out new episodes, but Jerry Springer is so 1994. I mean, can we go a little bit forward now? As really, do we really need to go back to that point in our lives? I'm quite sure that most of us that were in our teenage years during that Jerry Springer era, I'm quite sure a vast majority of us don't even watch that stuff anymore. So why are we continuing to be fed this garbage? Claire Lynch, I am a little bit into her tweak and her persona, if you will, as she's now kind of coming off a little bit more like a badass, like a little troublemaker. I kind of like that little vibe. But at the end of the day, her acting is still terrible. I still feel, just as I said last week on Impact Showdown Radio, that they just need to have her just go off the grid for a couple of weeks, bring back in a new actress, let us have enough time to forget how she looks, which really, if you just have her be off TV for a month and a half, I don't think anybody would really remember how she looked. But, yeah, this storyline is continuing right here. Very unfortunate. And let's go now to another backstage segment now where we see AJ Styles. Now, this is where it gets really funny, folks. We see the camera guys catch up to AJ Styles, and they're saying, AJ, is it true of all the things that you have been accused of? Are you really the father of Claire's baby? Can it really be so? And AJ just freaking snaps, and he says, I don't know. I just don't know. Now, let's just pause for a second. You're telling me AJ Styles, the so-called phenomenal one, is that naive, folks? Come on now. Let's be for real. For those of you that did not listen to our Destination X post show, there was an audio clip that we had played that was a YouTube exclusive on TNA's channel. Apparently, they didn't like the way that the segment went, I guess, as SoCal Val was interviewing AJ just a couple of hours prior to their Last Man Standing match. And AJ Styles, he basically sat up and told SoCal Val that the only way he would be able to make a baby with Claire Lynch, and he said he knows how these things happen, he said the only way that he would even be able to produce a child with Claire would be for him to stick his D and her V to make a B. So what happened, AJ? What happened to that confidence that you were displaying this past Sunday to now you're saying, I don't know, I just don't know. You don't know if you stuck it in, brother? That's just not right. That's just not right. I'm going to leave that one alone. I'm just saying, folks, very weird. 1 minute this guy knows, and the next minute he doesn't know what's going on. Very sad right there. Now we go to another backstage segment. I know this trend is just continuing all night here, folks, where we see Mr. Anderson, who is talking about the feud that he's had with Kurt Angle within recent years and how at first it seemed like it was a hate type of deal, but that over time the two of them, they've actually become closer. They've grown respect for one another, and that on so many levels they know that even though Kurt Angle is a competitor, he does respect him as a man. And from there, perfect segue, as we see Mr. Anderson, who is warming up for his match against Kurt Angle later tonight. Now from there, we see highlights from Destination X as we saw Zema Ion become the new TNA X Division champion as he participated in his second Ultimate X match. And in a backstage segment, we see Dakota Darso, who is cutting a pretty decent promo as he's talking about what all had transpired at the pay-per-view and is just appalled by the acts of Zema Ion as he took it very personal that Zema Ion didn't go out of his way to communicate with Jesse Sorsen in any type of way after Jesse had suffered that neck injury. No text messages, no flowers, no email, no paper mail, nothing, and was just really insulted when Zema Ion had said post-match after winning the X Division title that, hey, Jesse, this wouldn't all be possible if I didn't break your neck, and talking about how much of a more ruthless, aggressive wrestler that he is now. Basically, thanks, Jesse. And Dakota promises that Jesse's not the one that Zima is going to have to be worried about. It's him that Zima is going to need to be concerned with, as they're going to be having a match coming up. And we would see that third match as Dakota Darso would take on Zima Ion. And though this was a pretty impressive match right here, I must admit I was very impressed with what I saw from Zima Ion tonight. I know we have some of those male wrestling fans. They aren't really feeling Zima's gimmick because it comes off a little bit too flamboyant, but I think that's just the whole point. If you're overreading that a little bit more, you probably shouldn't be watching Zima Ion when he's wrestling if it makes you feel that uncomfortable. But I think he's been doing a phenomenal job of really pushing that button, really making you hate him. If you're not hating him, then you're not doing your job. Then he's not doing his job right, is what I'm trying to say. But we would see Zima Ion pick up the win right there. Now, post-match, I had a little bit of a problem with some of the things that Zima Ion had said, and it's just one of those type of deals where anytime you have to use the word gay or anytime you have to use the word crippled to describe someone's orientation or personality or physical state, anytime you have to use words like that, in my opinion, that just kind of makes you look a little bit weak as a person that's talking on the microphone, because you don't really need to use names like that to really make your point. And Zima Ion, he was just cutting some jibber-jabber garbage is what I would like to call it. And pretty much once you clean it up, basically what he was saying was that, hey, Jesse Sorsen, this message is for you. This is what's going to happen to all your friends that decide they want to get into my way. Pretty much that's the gist of what he said. I'm not going to go verbatim what he said because, like I said, he used the crippled word, and, you just don't, that's not how you want to describe somebody. I know even if Jesse and his family are cool with that type of talk, try to show a little bit of dignity is all I'm saying right there. Try to, I don't know. That's just me. I could be wrong. Maybe I might be over-reading that a little bit, but I just thought that he could have chosen some better words. But aside from all that, Zima needs to improve a little bit more on his mic skills, because there's only but so many times I can sit up in here. I'm so pretty, it's dangerous. You got to come up with a little bit more than that, which is kind of weird when you think about it, because it seemed like when Zima Ion had first popped up in TNA last year, he was cutting some pretty decent promos. But now it kind of seems like, since he really hasn't been in front of the cameras like that, it kind of seems like he's lost a little bit of that swagger that he had initially. So I don't know, maybe he needs a little bit more time getting in front of those cameras more to build back that persona he had when we first saw him, as he's 75% there, I feel. We just need to see that old Zima come back. But nonetheless, impressive victory for Zima Ion tonight. And up next, it's our new TNA World Heavyweight Champion, who is coming out to the Impact Arena, as it is his first appearance in the Impact Arena as the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion. He received such a great ovation from the crowd, and he took a microphone and he told everyone that he proved everyone wrong, and that by him winning the TNA title, that not only was it a great moment for Impact Wrestling, but that it was a moment for not just the fans, not just the company, but it was also a moment for the sport of the professional wrestling industry, as he would go on to talk about how TNA has been in this bomb period, that they have been waiting patiently for that next big thing to happen for the company. as he feels that by him winning that title, he is that bomb. He is that next big thing that's going to be taking the company going forward and on to bigger things, as he would point out that he had received congratulations from other wrestling champions for his accomplishments, and that he was asked just how important are the championships, and that it's important just as the man who holds the title, and would go on to say that the belt is one of the most prestigious, most important championships in all of professional wrestling, as he feels he is part of one of the greatest companies going forward. Now, from there, we would see our new champion get interrupted by the one and only Robert Roode, who just comes off having this glazed, hungry, fiending look on his face as he is just grabbing a microphone and he's trying to talk, but he just sounds confused, very gibberish. I've never seen Robert Roode in this state ever since I have been watching TNA Wrestling. I've never seen him act the way that he acted. I mean, he was just coming out there. He was almost sounding like a savage hawk for a second there. I mean, he was just coming out there saying, this, you, you. And that was just pretty much his dialogue for about 5 minutes, folks, as finally, eventually, we would find out what it was that Robert Roode was trying to say to Aries, which is basically this, all of this win, one word, fluke. That's right. Robert Roode feels that Austin Aries' win this past Sunday was nothing more than a fluke. Austin Aries would counter right back and say 3 words, new world champ, and that just sent Robert Roode off the deep end as he just leaves the ring and he's just storming to the backstage area. Now, in another backstage segment we go now, we see Sting is talking with Hulk Hogan, and he's letting Hulk Hogan know that he feels not 100%, but he feels 120% better, and thinks that they need to go old school tonight. Now, they would be interrupted by Devon and Garrett Bischoff. How about that? Garrett Bischoff returns to TV in some shape or form after being gone for about, 3 weeks there? As Devon tells Hulk Hogan, hey, man, you gave me an opportunity with this title. You've been a supporter of me, and I just wanted to let you know that I have your back tonight. If you need help, me and Garrett, we got you covered, man. We got you. Hulk Hogan, he appreciated the gesture, but he tells Devon that it's not going to be necessary as they have it tonight and that they'll just do just fine. Sting, in the meantime, he's continuing to say, hey, we got to go old school tonight. We got to keep it real. Let's go old school. Hogan, on the other hand, he's saying this is different. We're in real deep this time. Now, folks, we would see Kurt Angle talking about how he can get a win over Mr. Anderson, just a number of ways that he could pick up a win on Anderson, as he talks about, hey, he could do it by submission, he could do it by pinfall, but Kurt Angle, he did talk about the brilliance of the way this guy's mind is just clicking here. Kurt Angle says, Mr. Anderson is probably expecting me to go for a submission move for a win, so I really got to play it smart tonight. And from there, we see Kurt Angle is warming up afterwards. Now, from there, we see a recap of the lovely Killer Queen, Madison Rayne, who was just slobbing all up and down on referee Earl Hebner. We would finally get some type of a explanation from video footage that was shown of her earlier in the day, as she feels that Earl Hebner is a bit of an icon. He's a powerful man. and that, hey, nowadays it's common for a younger woman to fall for an older man. And she feels that the two of them both love wrestling. They do their very best to stay in great shape, and that the two of them make quite a nice pair. Yuck, 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 yuck is all I have to say about that, as Madison Rayne would continue on saying that she doesn't feel the need to defend herself. Now, our fourth match we go as we see the lovely Brooke Hogan come out, who is the new TNA Knockouts executive in charge. And she is paying very close attention to our fourth match, as it is Miss Tessmacher, the new TNA Knockouts champion, defending her title against the former champion, Gail Kim. And you know what? I continue to be impressed by the lovely Tessmacher each week, as she did something I haven't seen her do, I don't think, either ever or in quite a while, as she did a flying elbow drop to Gail Kim to pick up the win and retain her title. I am just continuing to be very pleased with how far along she has been coming wrestling-wise. She just continues to do a phenomenal job. I see that she's putting in the effort. I get that. I appreciate it. I just want her to work a little bit more on cutting those promos. That's what I really want right now, because honestly, and as Gail Kim would point it out a few seconds later, beauty, it's only going to go but for so far. As for those of you that may not be aware, something new that TNA Impact Wrestling is doing on their YouTube channel, they are sitting up and they are showing you continuous feeds that is occurring once they go on commercial break. So as you're watching Impact Wrestling on Spike TV, if you happen to have your laptop sitting right in front of you, the action will never stop. All you got to do is just go over to the YouTube channel, look up TNA Wrestling that way. TNA Wrestling, they also have a chat room that's open on their website, and you'll be able to see that same stream that way. And it just so happens I was just doing my thing. I was trying to get ready for the show, and I just said, let me see what's going on with TNA. And for those of you that may be wondering, where was EY, where's he been? Well, he was actually in between the commercial breaks online talking with Jeremy Borash, and he was saying some pretty hilarious stuff right there. One of the things that he was saying was that he would love to see Gail Kim maybe try to team up with Brooke Tessmacher and take on him and his wife, ODB, for the TNA Knockout titles. Eric Young would also go on to talk about how he basically doesn't have his contract set up so that the company pays for his rental car, travel expenses, food expenses. Basically, he's coming out of his pockets paying for all that. And Jeremy Borash is like, who negotiated your contract? And EY says, I did. I'm the one that negotiated my contract. And Jeremy Borash is just looking at him like, my God, you just totally effed up your contract. But it's so funny because post-match, as Impact Wrestling is going to commercial, as Tessmacher is celebrating and Gail Kim is going to the backstage area, boom, they go on a commercial break. You immediately go to your laptop. You see Jeremy Borash. He's talking with EY. Again, everything that I just mentioned, that's what they were talking about. But then you see Gail Kim pop up, and Gail Kim says, you know, are you guys going to pay me for this interview? And Jeremy Borash, he's like, no, we're not going to pay you for this. And Gail Kim's like, well, I didn't think so. And did you see what that little rookie did to me? Did you see what that little piece of ass did? She's going to pay. and you all are going to pay me a lot of money for this interview. If not, then I'm gone. And she just bounced. And from there, Eric Young, he would talk about this new fishing show that he's going to be doing. It was some really cool stuff right there. I highly recommend that you go check that out. I believe it's a weekly thing, but don't quote me on that. But it was really nice seeing them do what they did. Now, they didn't have that many views on their YouTube channel. Now, I don't know how many views they had got on their website, but I know on their YouTube channel during the commercial and post-show, they got about probably 330 views max. That kind of gives you an idea how it's going on YouTube. Now, from there, we see Claire in another backstage segment. As cameramen, they're asking her, hey, how do you know for sure that AJ Styles is the baby daddy? What type of proof do you have? And Claire, she's coming off with that snotty little biatch attitude again. And she says, yeah, I have proof. Don't worry about that. I have it. And she looks at the camera and she says, AJ, I thought you and me were supposed to be cool, man. I trusted you. Well, hopefully you're going to do the right thing. Now, from there, we see Magnus. Have not seen Magnus on Impact Wrestling in a while, who is talking about how he is undefeated right now in the few matches that he has done during the course of the Bound for Glory series, and talks about how he's going to be meeting with the Cowboy James Storm this Saturday down in Memphis, as the two of them will be in a Bound for Glory series match, as points will be up for grabs, and he feels that right now he is one of the competitors that is seriously being overlooked. And that's okay, because when it's all said and done, he is going to be the one that's going to win the series, shocking everyone. Now, from there, folks, we got our fifth match of the night as Bound for Glory continues, where points are up for grabs as Mr. Anderson takes on Kurt Angle. I was freaking loving this match. This was a phenomenal match, very physical. Was definitely one of those classic matchups. I actually didn't even think I was going to be able to really get into this match, because I kind of don't really care too much for Mr. Anderson's style of wrestling, but his game seemed to have been elevated tremendously when he was in the ring with the Olympic gold medalist, and it actually got right down physical to the point where at some point during this match, Kurt Angle, he takes a pretty serious shot to the mouth. Now, I'm not sure, I could be wrong, but by the amount of blood that was coming from his bottom mouth area, it's kind of safe to say that he probably lost a tooth, because I've never seen that much blood come out of somebody's mouth before, and it was almost one of those pasty Prego sauce type of bloods. It was really that kind of thick, just to give you an idea. Definitely wasn't fake. Definitely feel he lost a tooth. But nonetheless, Mr. Anderson, Kurt Angle, really impressive matchup right here. Two of them, they really tore the house down in this main event match, as Kurt Angle would pick up the victory. Now, he did not do this by submission, so he picked up 7 points right here. So with that in mind, let's go on ahead and let's update you guys now on the new Bound for Glory leaderboard status, and right now we have it being the following. Samoa Joe, he still leads at 37 points. We got the Cowboy James Storm, who is at second place with 36 points. We have Kurt Angle, who is in third place with 27 points. That's followed by Jeff Hardy with 21 points, Magnus with 14 points, Mr. Anderson at 9 points, The Pope at 7 points, AJ Styles at 7 points, Daniels at 5 points, Bully Ray, Robbie E., they both have 0. And let's not forget RVD. He has 14 points. So right now he's tied with Magnus. So it's just a little bit of time in there before those two will probably cross paths. Now, from there, folks, you know what time it is as we cut to another backstage segment where we see Hulk Hogan is trying to get in those last-minute preparations as he's talking with Sting when former TNA World Heavyweight Champion Robert Roode comes in and informs Hulk Hogan that the two of them need to talk. Now, from there, after a commercial, things pick right back up where we see Hulk Hogan telling Sting that he'll see him in about 5 minutes as Roode demands a rematch against Austin Aries as he feels that it was a fluke, that if the two of them were to lock it up again, Robert Roode would get his belt right back, and he feels that he is entitled to a rematch. Hogan tells him, hey, you're definitely going to get that opportunity at Hardcore Justice. Robert Roode, he doesn't want to wait until Hardcore Justice, though. He wants Austin Aries sooner than that. Well, Hulk Hogan would tell the former champion that, hey, we have a little something coming up next week called Open Fight Night. Now, you can't challenge the world champion for their belt, but you can call them out. Hey, if you beat him, that'll do a number of things. That might hurt his psyche going into the Hardcore Justice pay-per-view. Prove that you are the better man by beating him at Open Fight Night. And Robert Roode, he's just snapping at the mouth. He's saying, yes, that's exactly what I'll do. I'll prove it. And Hulk Hogan is just looking on very pleased, and he's saying, yeah, prove it. Prove it. And so from there, folks, we see now our main attraction of the night as we see Sting come out with a baseball bat, and he grabs a microphone, and he is calling out his good friend Hulk Hogan as they're trying to get ready to take on the Aces and Eights. Well, we would see after about 3 times of Hulk Hogan's music playing that Hogan is nowhere to be found. Hogan has not appeared. What is going on? Well, after the 3rd time they played his music, they cut it off. We would then see in a backstage segment that Hulk Hogan is being attended to by his daughter and a referee as we see Hogan is just laying on the ground. He's bloodied. His shirt has been ripped open. His bandana is gone from off his head. And he's telling Brooke that he feels okay, but it's his knee. They got his knee pretty good. And that, you think, is going to be the end of it as we see Sting getting ready to leave the ring and go see how his good friend, the Hulkster, is doing when the Aces and Eights would come from behind him. Looks like they came from over the guard barrier where the fans were, and they attacked Sting from behind, and they proceeded to give him one hell of a beatdown to end this week's episode of Impact Wrestling. Overall, very pleased with how tonight's episode has done, as now the build is going towards the TNA Hardcore Justice pay-per-view that's going to be coming our way in just a few weeks. Definitely loved everything that was happening with Impact tonight. Probably the only thing that was a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth is the continuation of the Claire Lynch angle. Was very glad, though, that they are continuing to try to do their best to not really let her speak too much, let it be brief, straight to the point. Overall, I have to say Impact Wrestling, they did pretty good tonight. I think that they did I'll give them an 8 out of 10. I think they did a pretty solid show tonight. Seems like they're continuing to build on that great momentum. They had some great quality matches tonight. You really couldn't go wrong there. It was definitely a very good show tonight. No complaints here. And like I said, for you guys that do not watch, didn't watch Impact Wrestling Rewind, highly recommend that you check that out. Really awesome show right there. And if you happen to be in front of your laptop during a new episode of Impact Wrestling Live, you definitely want to check out their YouTube channel. As I said, when they take commercial breaks, the action just keeps continuing. And we were actually shown a little bit of Mr. Anderson versus Kurt Angle as they had took a commercial break on TV. They showed us like about 3 minutes of the match before cutting back to the Spike TV feed. So really awesome right there. Make sure that you don't miss out on anything. And that is going to do it. So we're going to do this right now. We're going to take a brief commercial break. We're on a roll tonight. It's not even the 100 hour yet. We are only on the 55-minute mark. We still got plenty of good showtime left. When we come right back, we're going to cover the very latest in wrestling-related news. Now, some of you may be wondering how TNA has been doing since they have gone live, ratings-wise. We definitely got your hookup this week, so we'll definitely share with you what's going on with that, and we'll also let you know what's been going on in NBA news. Remember, this is a follow-up to what we had said we were going to cover on our Tuesday night edition of the RCWR show, as we got some major headlines that have been happening in the world of NBA. So in case you've missed it, don't worry, we got your major headlines, get you caught up on everything that has been going on, try to get you ready for the weekend. And a little bit later on, we'll definitely open up our wrestling fan line, get you all's thoughts for those of you that happen to see tonight's episode of Impact Wrestling Live. And we'll also share with you a very important message or two that had came from the Hulkster and TNA President Dixie Carter. So we'll take a brief pause because we still got a lot of ground that we got to cover. Take about a 60-second pause. I said 60-minute. Lord, that's one hell of a long break. But no, 60 seconds, folks, and then we'll come right back. You're listening to the Tuesday. Did I say Tuesday? I'm getting old. I apologize. It's Thursday. Co-producer Tammy's looking at me like, focus, man. And I got Zed looking at me like, focus, man, focus. Okay, I'm focused. You're listening to the Thursday night edition of Impact Showdown on July 12th, 2012. We'll be coming right back in 60 seconds, folks. Hang tight.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., you're listening to Impact Showdown with your host, Lee Sanders.
We're back. You're listening to the Thursday night edition of Impact Showdown on July 12th, 2012. Lee Sanders right here. Hey, we're just 2 weeks away from a very historic WWE Raw episode, as they're going to be airing their 1,000th episode. That's going to be coming our way July 23rd. What better way to celebrate than by us making a rare Monday night appearance immediately following that episode of Raw. Join myself, the lovely Tammy, and special guest hip-hop rapper Scooter, as we're going to be doing a very special episode of the RCWR show, recapping the historic 1,000th episode of WWE Raw, share thoughts on the first installment of Raw, as they're going to be going 3 hours permanently. You don't want to miss that. It's a special treat for our listeners, for our loyal listeners that continue to support us and check out all our shows each week, as you're letting your voices be heard. We are very pleased with the numbers that we continue to see come in for our shows. especially when we upload our stuff on YouTube. But mainly it's our downloads that we're very pleased with, especially those of you that check out our episodes when they're live in progress. So it's a special gift to you all. It's our way of saying thank you for the support, the continued support at that. So it's not every day we make a rare Monday night appearance, so do join us. I believe this is, what, Zed? This is like our second, third time appearing on a Monday night, right? Yeah, so not every time we pop up on a Monday, so do join us on Monday. Hey, you know how to draw? You know how to paint? Well, if you do, there's a really cool contest that's going on right now. Our good friend Xander Demas, who had stopped by the RCWR show a couple of weeks back, he needs your help. That's right. Now, recently he signed with a German record label called Rock and Growl Records, and they're going to be re-releasing his Guitarcadia album to over 200 media outlets, stores included, as it's going to be in CD format. Now, this is where your artistic abilities come into play. Xander, he needs original artwork. This artwork is going to be used for his re-release Guitarcadia album. Now, all you have to do is just come up with some original artwork. Can't stress it enough. It's got to be 100% original. And on top of that, it also means that nobody can lay claim to that artwork. They don't need no lawsuits coming their way, okay? We don't want that. So you come up with your original artwork concept, and then what you do, you email it in a JPEG format to my good friend Michael over at michael@mtsmanagementgroup.com. Again, that's michael@mtsmanagementgroup.com. You have until July 16th to turn in your artwork, after which there's going to be a bit of a 6-week period where Xander, Michael, they're going to pick the top 3 pieces of artwork, but the record label is going to have the final say on who will win the whole thing. Now, really cool thing, on top of your artwork being featured on that re-released album, Xander's also going to send you a signed, framed, huge version of your artwork that you can hang proudly on your wall, be a little show off to your friends. Another cool thing that we're going to be doing is whoever wins this contest, we're actually going to have them pop up on a future episode of the RCWR show or Impact Showdown. Hopefully we'll also be having Xander with us as we'll be talking with that winner. So, yeah, really cool stuff right there. If you haven't got started yet, get started right now. Remember, contest ends this July 16th. For those of you that need a day to pin to that, that's next Monday. So get started, folks. Good luck to you. All right, so let's talk a little bit about wrestling-related news. We do have the very latest on how TNA has been doing ratings-wise. Now, this is just going to recap how they've done in the month of June, okay? We don't want to really jump out there and put July out there already. Let's just go with June right now to give you an idea of how they've been doing. Now, June 7th, they pulled in a 0.98 rating with 1.252 million viewers. June 14th, they pulled in a 1.2 rating with 1.341 million viewers. June 21st, they pulled in a 0.095 rating with 1.237 million viewers. June 28th, they pulled in a 0.97 rating with 1.262 million viewers. So they've been keeping keeping the consistency there within recent weeks. Seems like it's been just slightly down, but kind of going back up. I think they have just been doing a superb job right now, making sure that they stay away from those 80s. So let's give them credit. They've been doing a pretty good job right there. I just think that in time, they just continue to put the product out there that they're putting out right now, continue that momentum. I definitely believe that they're going to be increasing those ratings significantly. Nothing like what probably a Raw would do, as they're used to seeing a 3-point something, or SmackDown getting a 1.50, but I definitely could see Impact Wrestling in time slowly climbing their way to maybe a 1.10, a 1.15. That could possibly be the regular for them if they are able to keep up the momentum that they have right now. So with regards to those ratings, really nothing but great praise right there, but we have great concern for TNA's ratings going forward. Now, some people will sit up and say, oh, this isn't really a big deal. TNA Impact, they aren't really tripping over this. It's not really that big of a big deal. It is a big deal. Anytime you have the president of TNA, Dixie Carter, talk about how important the ratings are right now, anytime you have Dixie Carter sit up and mention how Austin Aries is upset right now because he just got the championship belt at the pay-per-view, and we have this crap that's going on, yeah, there is great concern for the ratings now. Now, for those of you that saw Impact Wrestling tonight, you all know exactly what's going on. But for those of you that don't know what's going on right now, we definitely got your 411. DirecTV and Viacom, they failed to reach an agreement a little bit over 48 hours ago. Now, as a result of that, 26 channels, Viacom channels, that is, have been pulled from DirecTV. And a majority of these channels are channels that you would normally get on basic cable. So you could be one of those type of people. You could have a household where your money is just a little bit tight, or you just say, hey, I don't need all those channels. Basic cable is good enough for me. Well, you're no longer going to be getting channels like BET, VH1, MTV, Nickelodeon, CMT, Spike TV. So with no Spike TV, you're no longer able to get your fix of Impact Wrestling. And Hulk Hogan did a very special message on YouTube letting DirecTV customers know what they can do with regards to this. So if y'all haven't heard that message, we're going to play that for you right now. Here you go.
I've had a world of pile-driving punishment dished out to me, brother, but I've never been hurt like I am right now since I heard that DirecTV is dropping Spike. So you can't see Impact and you can't see these. You will also be choked off from MTV, Comedy Central, Nickelodeon, VH1, and BET, 26 channels in all. So I need all my Hulkamaniacs to call DirecTV now and tell them you need your channels, brother. Otherwise, I might be running wild on you, dude.
Now, something that we've taken upon ourselves to do is we have a petition that's floating around right now, and you can actually check it out on our Facebook page, and we actually have it up on our Twitter page as well over at Infinity One Prod. For those of you that need that link for our Facebook page, again, it's over at Infinity One Productions. We're on Facebook at Infinity One Productions. Right now, we only got 5 signatures, and quite honestly, I think that's pathetic. I'll call it how I see it. I got to be very honest. I think that number is very pathetic. I think that number should be very high right now. It amazes me now that we have a ton of wrestling fans. We got wrestling fans that care about WWE, TNA. They just want wrestling in general. They want that alternative. This isn't really a case of who's better. This is just all about having that alternative for when you don't like what a wrestling promotion is giving you for that particular week. And if we ever needed a great example of having another wrestling alternative for this week, it would be the ferocious episode that we had of WWE Raw, where many people were saying tonight, hey, very pleased with Impact Wrestling. This eliminates the thought of what I had saw on Raw this past Monday. So, 5 signatures, I appreciate that, but come on, I know we can do better than that. The goal right now is to get as many signatures as humanly possible to the point we can have TNA President Dixie Carter sign it. We can try to get the attention of Impact wrestlers, have them sign it, independent wrestlers, they sign it. So if you see that petition, you come across it, definitely sign it, but most importantly, forward it, because when it's all said and done, even if you don't like Impact Wrestling, you don't care too much for Spike TV, sign it because you want all those other channels back. We're not just singling out Impact Wrestling. We're also talking about the other channels as well. So make it your business, sign that petition. Now, if there's already a petition that's floating around, now we haven't came across it yet, but if there's another petition that's floating around right now that just so happens to have more signatures than what we got, then definitely forward that to us. You can go to our website over at infinityOneProductions.com, and you can click on the Contact Us tab, and you can send us that link via email, and we'll definitely make it our business to plug it the next time that we're on the air. But for right now, we're just going to assume that our Twitch petition that we have floating around is the only thing that's out there. So 5 signatures, that's cool, but I know we can do better. We need to make that goal be 100 to start it off. Then we can say 125. Then we can say 175, 300, so forth. I want to see at least 1,000 signatures, or until Viacom DirecTV, they squash this deal that's going on right now. Now, for those of you that may not really be aware of all the details, in a nutshell, Viacom, they went to DirecTV, and they basically said, look, we want a little bit of a raise. We want a little bit of an increase. We feel that it's very modest. What we're asking for is just a few pennies per subscriber. DirecTV, they weren't really having it. They're sitting up saying that Viacom was basically trying to rip off the customers in a sense, and they weren't really having it. So they met a stalemate. But you got most of the blame that's being put on DirecTV, because if you really think about it, this isn't the first time that DirecTV has made headlines where they've sat up and they've threatened to pull this channel off or they threatened to pull that channel off. This isn't the first time. It damn sure ain't going to be the last, but just the fact that 26 channels, and it's mainly basic channels, are now faded black, it's pretty ridiculous. So make your voices be heard. Even if you don't feel like signing the petition, just pick up that telephone, call your local cable provider. If it's Dish Network, you definitely want to call them and you want to let them know, hey, look, I want my voice to be heard. You got to bring back the channels. Okay, keep calling them, harass the hell out of them. Let your voices be heard. Let them know that it's unacceptable. Now, let's go on ahead right now, and let's also get you guys caught up on what else has been happening in wrestling-related news. And Vegas Fuel TV, they recently had conducted an interview with former WWE wrestler and DX member Badass Billy Gunn. Now, this is a third installment and final piece to a 3-part interview that they had did with Billy Gunn. And some of the highlights I thought was pretty interesting, as Billy Gunn had talked about the old Billy Gunn, where he basically talked about how nobody wanted to be around him. He wasn't a good person to be around, how his wife and kids didn't even want to be anywhere near him, how his wife left him, and that basically now he's got everything back, and he just realizes now, at the age of 48, just how important everything is that he has in his life right now, and he doesn't want to do anything to lose all that, because to lose all of it at this point, he feels would just probably make him kill himself or what have you. And he also talks about the idea of possibly returning to the WWE if they had contacted him. You could read up a little bit more on that and see that video piece over at our website at infinityoneproductions.com. Now, for those of you that happen to have the afternoon off for Friday, got something cool for you to check out. Impact Wrestling and SpikeTV.com, they are going to be teaming up to provide live online streaming from Comic-Con this Friday, and it's going to include an appearance by TNA Knockouts champion Miss Tessmacher. You'll be able to check that out tomorrow, Friday, at 4 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be lasting for about 3 hours, I believe. And in Ring of Honor news, due to the unfortunate departure of Kenny King, one half of the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, they have been stripped of the titles, as you all know. We have reported it on our Tuesday night edition of the RCWR show. Well, the titles are vacant, and as a result of that, we have Ring of Honor officials determining that there's going to be a 8-tag team tournament beginning August 3rd down in Baltimore, Maryland, where they're going to be looking to crown a new tag team champion. Now, some of the names that's already been thrown into the mix is Jay and Mark Briscoe, the Young Bucks, and just announced earlier today, Blackout, which consists of Ruckus and G's. They're going to be having a hand in that tournament. Also, T.J. Perkins, he's officially signed to appear at the Baltimore August 3rd event. So that should be pretty awesome right there. And also got some more Ring of Honor news for you guys. Apparently, Ring of Honor, they've decided that with all the hype that's been built around Austin Aries, now is the perfect time to pull the trigger on his days in Ring of Honor, as they just released a brand new 2-disc DVD chronicling the career of the only 2-time World Heavyweight Champion, Austin Aries, as they're calling it, the evolution of A Double. A lot of great matches right there. It is in double digits. I believe I saw at least 22 to 24 matches. So we're definitely going to have a review for you on an upcoming episode of the RCWR show, Impact Showdown, so definitely stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, if you feel like spending that money right now, $19.99, get done with shipping, taxes, you'll probably end up paying about maybe $25, $27 for the DVD. If you got $27 to blow, go on over to Ring of Honor Wrestling right now and add that DVD to your collection. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. We got some entertainment news right now. We definitely want to take this time out to wish a happy 75th birthday to the one and only, you got to put the pudding in the pop, Mr. Bill Cosby. That's right, Bill Cosby. 75 years old today. That man has brought us some really fantastic, awesome moments in television history. Let's not forget about Fat Albert. Let's not forget about The Cosby Show, or how about Cosby? Let's not forget The Cosby Mysteries. Y'all think I'm making these words up. I'm not. It's the truth. Don't even let me do a rundown of all the shows that I just named. Y'all know The Cosby Show, but y'all are probably saying, what's up with the other two shows? Google it. It's your best friend. But happy 75th birthday to Bill Cosby, true TV icon right there. Got some more entertainment news for you guys. Steven Tyler of Aerosmith, he's decided that he's going to be leaving his role as a judge on American Idol after only being on the show for 2 years. Now, this is what he had to say with regards to leaving. And he says, and I quote, After some long, hard thoughts, I've decided it's time for me to let go of my mistress, American Idol, before she boils my rabbit. I strayed from my first love, Aerosmith, and I'm back. But instead of begging on my hands and knees, I got 2 fists in the air and I'm kicking the door open with my band. The next few years are going to be dedicated to kicking some serious ass, the ultimate and auditory takeover. Idol was over-the-top fun, and I loved every minute of it. Now it's time to rock back. Bring rock back. So there you have it right there, and that would also be followed up by Jennifer Lopez, who recently had made an appearance on the Today Show, and she said that she's thinking that it may be time for her to leave Idol as well, as she just has a lot of things that's been going on right now. There's a lot of projects that she would love to do, and she just kind of feels like she's been putting a lot of that work on hold, but that she's still not really sure what she's going to do because she loves doing American Idol. But at the same time, as she was conducting the interview, she talked about Idol in past tense. So it seems like she's 80% sure that she's going to be done with American Idol. And in other entertainment news, we got System of a Down former frontman Serge Tanaki. He just released his 3rd solo album, Harakiri. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. It just was released earlier this week on Tuesday. Highly recommend that you go check that out. For those of you that like getting your stuff online, digital copies, I recommend that you go pick up his new album, 3rd album, on Amazon.com. You can get the whole album for, guess what, folks, $4.99. When was the last time you bought a new album for $4.99? It's been that long or never? Well, then you definitely want to check it out. And it's not an EP. That's the beautiful part. There's like at least, I believe, 14, 15 tracks. So go check that out right now. Pretty cool. And in one more piece of entertainment news, definitely got to let you guys know what's been going on with former love child, former wife of the late Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain, Miss Courtney Love. You know, when we mention her here, it's usually not good. It's not good. As she's being sued by someone that used to work for her. Now, check this out. A woman by the name of Jessica LeBray. She claims that Love acted with an improper and evil motive amounting to malice or despicable conduct during the time that she was employed by the whole front woman. Now, this all basically stems from 2010, where basically Jessica is sitting up claiming that Courtney owes her at least over $2,000, and also cites that she suffered depression and all this other crazy crap that's just going on right now. It's just really ridiculous. It's funny when I think about it, but that's what's happening right now with that. Now, keep in mind that Courtney Love also has a lawsuit that's coming at her from a former lawyer over at Keith A. Fink and Associates for failing to pay up most of her accumulated fees, which comes to a total of $518,000. WTF. I know, I'm shaking my head and I'm saying to myself, Courtney, one person actually said this. I did not say this, but it just had me nodding my head. One person actually said, and this was actually somebody that I interact with on Twitter when I was talking with them about this, and they said to me, and I quote, they said, Lee, the wrong person got shot that night. Now, for those of you that aren't really sure, well, what the hell are you talking about? Basically, remember how Kurt Cobain committed suicide? My friend was basically saying the wrong person shot themselves on that day. It should have been Courtney Love. I'm not even touching that. I'm just saying what they said. You all can come to your own conclusions with that. Let's end on a very happy note. For the first time since 2002, Run DMC will be reuniting to perform at this year's Fun Fest, which is going to be taking place November 2nd to November 4th down in Austin, Texas. Now, the two surviving members, Joseph Run Simmons and Daryl DMC McDaniels, they'll be headlining the main stage. Should be noted that this is going to be the first time that Run DMC will be operating under the name and performing since the tragic death of DJ and producer Jason Jam Master J. So, really great moment that's going to be taking place later on this year. Let's go on ahead and let's briefly open up our phone lines. We only have a few minutes left. We definitely want to let you guys know about some programming notes that's going to be coming up for the rest of this week, as we got to cover the WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view that's going to be coming our way. So without any further ado, let's jump right into our wrestling fan line. We got Dave from the Michigan area. Dave, you're now live on the air, my friend.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, pretty good, bro.
Yeah, I had that thing set up tonight where on my Roku, I don't know if you know what a Roku is, but where I'd switch my TV to the channel and just have that setting for the Impact little commercial show.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually really cool to check out. I mean, that's actually a really smart thing to do, I think, by TNA.
Yeah, it is. Good concept indeed, yeah.
I mean, and tonight, I would almost go as far as to say is that Gail Kim and Brooke Tessmacher could have been almost the best match on the show tonight.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Dave, we got to cut you off right now. Apologize for that because we only got like 2 minutes left, and we're going to start getting interrupted by the little chimes that we only have like 90 seconds left, so we apologize about that. I was going to make this be a 2-hour show, but I just felt like everybody had got their fixings with our Tuesday night edition of the RCWR show, so there wasn't really no need for a 2-hour edition. Maybe we'll do a 2-hour edition next week. It depends on if y'all want a 2-hour Impact Showdown. But we got to let you know what's going to be coming up for the rest of the week. Now, already on our YouTube channel, we have the WWE Money in the Bank Call That Match special. If you haven't checked it out yet, highly recommend that you do. It's really awesome. I sit down, I give my match predictions on who I think is going to win at Sunday's pay-per-view. So check it out to get you all ready. Also, in a first, we're also going to take our YouTube Call That Match special for the WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and that episode is actually going to be available right here on Blog Talk Radio. It'll be available for download, so definitely check it out. You'll be able to hear that encore episode this Friday at 8 p.m. So check it out when you get a free moment. And, of course, this Sunday we have the WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view post-show that's going to be coming immediately after the pay-per-view. So definitely join us for a special Sunday night edition of the RCWR post-show. That's going to do it, folks. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get the heck up out of here. You all have a fantastic weekend. You all be safe. Be kind to one another till we hear from y'all this Sunday for the RCWR post show. Take care, everybody.